It's great to see so many names here today. This is great. If people could put in their chat maybe where they're from, that would be great. If everybody could just try to enter where they're calling from, and maybe if you have a farm or if you are a what organization you work for, that would be helpful too. Okay, I do have a PowerPoint to start out with. Really briefly, since there's so many people here, I'm just going to really quickly go over the basics of the program, and get this to go bigger. Good, great. So welcome everybody. Thanks again for joining us. My name is Candace Huber. I manage the Northeast SARE Partnership Grant Program and the Farmer Grant Program. And I'm just going to go over the basics of the partnership grants. And since we have so many people, I want to give plenty of time for people to ask questions. So the basics of the partnership program are these grants are for people who work with farmers in the Northeast region. And you have to be eligible to apply, which means you must be a service provider for farmers in the Northeast. And that could be any organization, nonprofit organization, government organization, just extension, anybody who works with farmers. It could even be another farmer if, as your business, you do in fact work with other farmers in some sort of service capacity. The project must include collaboration with at least one partner farmer, and we like to see that partner farmer involved right from the beginning. So they are helping in shaping the project and then executing it as well. The topics must address opportunities to improve sustainability of farms. There's a whole variety of topics. I'm not going to get into all those yet because I can get into more detail in that in a little while. The maximum amount to request is $30,000. A detailed budget is required, and at this time, funds are dispersed on a reimbursement basis. So your organization has to be able to pay the expenses, and we'll reimburse them once you've invoiced us for them. Projects typically run from 1 to 3 years. The contracts begin on August 1st. And applicants may only submit one proposal per year per program. And the proposal deadline this year is April 9th at 5 p.m. And that's online. Those are for our proposals submitted online. So that has to include all the attachments, which are the budgets, letters of commitment, and the such. Now, I do have a slide that has the call for proposals. This is at our on our website at northeastsare.org/partnership grant. You'll see the download button to download the call. And so the first thing you should do is download that call for proposals and read it. And it'll give you all the details about what you need, what kinds of things we're looking for. It even goes into all the proposal questions with the detailed instructions. So that's really the place to start to see what's needed for the program and what you need to do to actually apply. Now, does anybody have, Vander, I'm going to rely on you to look for hands. You can raise your hand, or if you want to put something in the chat. Anybody have any specific questions that we should get started on? If not, I can go into more detail about the program. Not hearing any or seeing any.
I have one.
Okay.
Are you able to put up a link for us to get to where to download the RFP?
Oh, yes. Yep, I can put that. I'll put that back up. I just wanted to be
Thanks.
able to see people's, if anybody was raising their hand.
Yeah, if you're able to put it as a link in the chat, that would be great.
Yep. Okay, so I'm going to stop sharing that again, but this is the link, northeastsare.org/partnership grant, and we'll get that in the chat. Oh, Vander already's got it in the chat. There you go. Any other questions? Okay, well, I think we'll continue then with the
It looks like Desmond came off mute there.
Okay, Desmond, did you have a question?
Nope, I think that was a slip. Sorry about that, my error.
No worries. Just want to make sure we're not missing anybody.
I have a question.
Yep.
If you are the farm partner for the grant, is your time put into the project? Can that be as part of the budget?
Yes, absolutely. If you are the farmer partner, the applicant will be the agricultural service provider you're working with. And they can put in their budget hourly wage for you, whether it's an hourly wage or a daily wage or however you want to do it. But absolutely, we totally encourage people to include wages for the farmers in their projects because we feel that's a very important aspect of this.
Okay, and one other question would be, can you apply for this, like be the farm partner and then in the fall apply by yourself as a farm for an individual project?
Absolutely, yes. Yep. That you can apply as a farmer and you can build off of the other project or do something completely different. Either way, but yes, you're eligible to apply as a farmer in the farmer grant, despite whether or not you're a partner in a partnership grant. And I see a message from Shannon Chandler. And so yes, a university department could apply. Yeah, so Vander just uploaded the link, which is directly to the call for proposal, so you don't have to go through the website and click on, then download the call. Jenny, being an agroforestry student, could that work in partnership with a farm? You would have to, you as a student would not be able to apply, but if you provide a service to farmers other than, being a student, then you have, a individual business that you do that through, you could apply. If you are a graduate student, we do have the graduate student grant program, which is actually, the deadline for that is April 16th. And that there will be a Q&A session about graduate student grants tomorrow. Oh, no, I'm sorry, a week from tomorrow. And you could learn more about that program and you can go to our website and look up graduate student grants. But if you're a graduate student, I would encourage you to look at the graduate student grant program. Yes, sorry, Vander corrected me. A week from today, Tuesday, is the graduate student grant Q&A. Any other questions? Great. I think I'll go ahead. If you have a question, pop it in the chat or interrupt me, or you can raise your hand. Vander, I'll have you interrupt me if you see somebody raising their hand.
Yeah,
let me go.
I've got a question here that someone sent to me.
Yeah.
So someone would like to know, can the applicant for a partnership grant does it have to be the whole nonprofit or does it need to be an individual from the nonprofit? So I think that's kind of about the nature of how the application works there. And their nonprofit provides agricultural infrastructure, business, and market support for immigrant and refugee farmers growing specialty crops for New England communities, which I'm very excited about and wanted to share that from the question too. I'm going off the rails here. And then they want to know if an educational program on how to grow Asian crops with African farmers who are ready to take those crops to the farmers market would qualify for this grant.
Yes, and yes. So the first let me just address the second two pieces. As Vander said, that sounds like a really exciting organization that's doing some amazing work. And we'd love to learn more about your organization and hear from you in the form of a proposal. The topic about growing the ethnic crops is definitely a valid topic, an eligible topic, and again, one we love to see. The applicant will be the individual will be the applicant, and that person is the project leader. But as the applicant, you, as part of a nonprofit organization, you have to have a grant commitment form signed by the authorized official from that organization, because the organization, even though you're going to be the project leader and you're the applicant, the organization is the one who's going to be invoicing us and who we will be making payments to. So we need to have their support behind it and make sure that they're aware of all this and that they approve of you to apply on behalf of their organization. Did I catch all the questions involved in that one? I think so. Was there any other part of that or any other question in that?
I believe that did it. And I guess I do have a question for you though. Like, so if someone's coming in to apply for a partnership grant and they know they want to be doing something and they've got a couple of ideas for a project, how do you decide which that you'd like to pursue? What are some of the things that you want to be looking at for this grant program?
Yeah. Let me just I think the best way to answer that is to talk a little bit about what reviewers are looking for in the grant program. And I could go back to my slides there. And let me just find the best one that would, okay, so grant proposals. So first of all, let me go back a little. First of all, who can apply? You have to be eligible. We talked about who can apply for the project. And so reviewers are looking for the applicant to be a service provider who works with farmers, and for there to be a farmer partner, and a strong partnership between the two is very helpful. Sometimes people just have the farmer partners being part of the trials or just a small part of the project, but reviewers really like to see the farmer partners be involved from the beginning in shaping the project and then in executing it, and even in the outreach would be great too.
So we've got a
yeah.
hand up from Andrew Carpenter.
Yep. Andrew, do you?
Yeah, I was looking at the eligible expenses, and I didn't see analytical cost or yeah. My question is, are analytical costs eligible expenses?
Yes, so I can talk a little bit more about the budget too, but yes, you can provide in the budget, you can request a line item for the labor for analytical costs, or if you need some specific software or something. But yes, analyzing the data, reporting on the data, anytime that is involved with working on this project is eligible as an expense.
I'm wondering about actual analytical costs for sending the sample to a lab and having that sample analyzed.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Lab services are an eligible expense.
Okay, thanks.
Testing, yep. So we also do encourage projects that are submitted from or in collaboration with underserved communities. So reviewers like to see that. So I'm going to go back to what reviewers really are looking for in response to respond to that question just prior to this last one. Your proposal should address one of the themes of sustainable agriculture, which is, improved environmental benefits, productivity, income, conservation, water quality, enhancement of employment, or improvement of quality of life. Basically, the results of your project should benefit farmers in the Northeast. So reviewers are going to be looking overall at how your project will impact farmers in the Northeast. I said earlier, there's a wide range of topics. So I'm just going to, this is not really in response to that question of what reviewers are looking for, but these are just some examples of the topics that we have funded. And aquaculture is a big one. We often get a lot of proposals about bees, crop production, anything having to do with crop production or livestock, nutrient management like composting or cover crops, pest management, business, so like marketing or anything having to do with business, natural resources, education. We fund projects on education, which could be like training farmers, or even training service providers, or both. And product testing and development, we also fund. So again, you've got to have your
Got a
farmer.
question. We've got a question in the chat from Arnav.
Okay. Aquaculture projects have been funded in the past. Can a scientist in a nonprofit organization work with an aquaponics farmer qualify for this grant? Yes, absolutely. Yeah. Aquaponics, aquaculture, hydroponics, all that we are eligible topics, and we're farmers that provide consultation and installation to clients but are not a consultation firm. Is there something deemed necessary to be seen as for-profit consultants? No, we don't ask for any kind of documentation about that, or any kind of proof that you are a service provider. But we do like when you are applying, if you're applying and you're a farmer, you should make it really clear under the section called experiences and resources. You want to make it really clear that you do provide consultation and installation to clients, and really lay it right out so that the reviewers can see that you're not just a farmer, that you are also providing agricultural services as part of your business. The less questions reviewers have, the better it is. If things are really straightforward for them, if they walk away from the proposal thinking, well, we can't really tell if this person's eligible or not, then it may not rank as high as another proposal that really spells everything out. So I encourage you to really be really direct and answer the questions in the proposal, and just try to put in as much detail as you can, and try not to leave any kind of things that the reviewers need to make assumptions about or question. Let's see. So I'm just going to keep going, keep popping those questions in. And I'm just going to keep going about the program itself, and with the focus on what reviewers are looking for. When you develop your budget, you want to make sure that it's realistic. And so this is a really important part of your proposal. One, because it's the money, that's what you're asking for. But two, when you create a realistic, detailed budget, it helps you understand what you're going to actually need to be doing for the project that you're thinking about, and how much the reality is going to cost. Because sometimes people forget to even, they may not put in their own labor, or some just small detail of something you might need for the project, but you're just not thinking about it. When you use our budget spreadsheet and you go through it, you'll see all the categories, and that'll prompt you to think about, okay, what's going to be the personnel time involved in this project? What kind of materials and supplies will I need? What kind of travel might I need to do? Publications and communications. Oh, I'm going to be doing outreach, so maybe I'll need some flyers for the on-farm workshop I'm going to have. So we really encourage you to think that through really thoroughly, and then use your best estimate for each of the expenses. You can call around and find out how much it's going to cost, and you'll need to put in quantity and price, and you'll actually have to, like, I'm going to need stakes for the plots, and you think, okay, I'll need 2 bundles of 50, and then see how much they cost, and you pop that in your budget, and that just, it really helps you when you get into the project to have all that figured out. And now all the grant expenses must be incurred during the contract period, and that starts August 1st and will go through to the end date. Cannot go longer than 3 years, but it'll go to the end date that we determine for your project. And of course, the cap is $30,000. That's the most you can request for this award. Here again, we've got some budget things. So reverse, see that you thought it all through. If they see you have a project and it's going to require certain materials and supplies, but you don't have any materials and supplies listed on your budget, they're going to wonder, how are they going to do this project if they don't have that stuff? So you should, if there's something important for the project that you're not going to request funds for, it is good to put somewhere in the proposal, this is going to, how that's going to be covered. This is going to be, we already have this on site, or this is being donated by so-and-so, that sort of thing. So I did talk about, personnel, materials and supplies, travels, printing. We do do the testing and the analyses of things. We also pay consultant fees and travel. So if you have to hire somebody to do a certain aspect of the project, like this person is going to be identifying these pests for us, you would put them, you could also pay them, and that's where you would pay farmers, your farmer partners, any other farmers that you work with, collaborators. And we also want you to do some outreach. So in other words, sharing the results of your project. And so you can ask for expenses to present your results at conferences and such. And again, all the expenses need to be specific to the project. Let's see, while we're here, SARE does not fund structures and major renovations, capital costs, like can't purchase farm equipment that you would normally use, can't purchase a tractor. Cell phones are not eligible. Food is not eligible unless it's part of a training or a meeting that couldn't otherwise allow for people to go get their own food. Promotional giveaways, operating expenses that are normally present are not eligible. So if your farmer partner is a chicken farmer and they normally have to go collect all the eggs, you wouldn't be able to charge for their labor to collect all those eggs, even if you need those eggs for your project, as long as they're still going to be using those eggs in the way they normally would.
We've got a question in the chat, which is how flexible can we be with the budget? Do we need to submit any amendments if plans change during the course of the project?
Good question. When we contract with you, we do say that 10% of the award, if you're allocating more than 10% of the award, or I like to think of it as 10% per category, then we like for you to, then you need to reach out to the grant administrator, that would be me, and explain what you want to do and why. And if you need to take funds from one place to put to another, we need to know, how you're going to cover what you're taking it from. Otherwise, maybe it's not needed. Maybe you've had somebody else do something that covered it. But so we just want to check in with you, make sure that the goals of the project haven't changed and that you're going to still be on track with your project. So typically it's just a matter of getting those details down and then we approve the reallocation. If it's just a small amount, less than a couple $100, it's usually not, you don't have to even ask for a reallocation. You can just go ahead and, one category will be maybe, you'll spend $100 or $200 more than in the other category. You'll spend a couple $100 less because that's just the way it worked out because of prices going up or whatever. So there is definitely flexibility. the USDA just likes to see that you have looked at all the expenses and have realistic prices in your budget. And then when it comes actually down to spending it, of course, there is flexibility to cover changes in prices, because we all know that happens.
So Candace, just to clarify for folks, if you're looking for maximum flexibility in your grant budget, the most important thing that you can do right is have all of those expenses laid out. It's much easier, there's more flexibility in moving allocations of money between things that are listed on the grant than to try to add in an unexpected expense that it is not covered under the existing expenses you lay out during your application, correct?
I would say it's about the same as far as ease to do it. If you have an unexpected expense come up, you know, we'll need to just look and see where you have room to move money from for it. But we are always here to work with you to make, you know, to get whatever needs to be done for you to be able to do the project. We want you to be successful in the project, and we totally understand that things happen. Weird challenges come up. So it's absolutely fine if you have an unexpected expense to, you know, come just talk to me and we'll figure out how we can rearrange the budget to be able to cover it.
Awesome. And we have a question in the chat from Sarah that says, if the project is for product testing and development, can the budget expenses include a major piece of equipment for manufacturing the product? It would be needed for the project, but would not be used after the project is over.
Okay, I'm reading, but would be used after the project
Oh,
is
but
over.
would be.
Right. And that's actually a key part to this. So if you need a major piece of equipment for manufacturing the project, it's not something that you ordinarily use on your farm, but it is something that you would be using after the project is over. We would prorate that expense. So you could ask for, if it's a $10,000 item and your project is going to run for 2 years, we would pay for 20% of that $10,000. And you would need to cover the rest. If it's something that you need for the project, but if your project is not successful, it's not going to be worth anything, then like you couldn't sell it to another farmer to use, or you're not going to have any use for it, then we would pay for the entire thing. So it's a little bit of a gray area. And if you have any question about a budget item, you can send me an email or give me a call. Email is usually the best way to reach me, but I can always call you back if you can't get in touch with me by phone. Be sure to leave me a message. We can talk about what it is you're asking for and make that decision about if it should be prorated or not.
Thank you so much.
Candace, for organizations that don't necessarily have the ability for that outright piece of equipment cost, if they're prorating it, we have had grantees in the past work with equipment companies to lease. Equipment rentals are covered as a regular expense. So if you are using a piece of equipment, we've had people work with leasing companies that they're covering the rental, and then they've worked on something else with them after the project ends to do the prorating kind of through that system rather than ours. So just a good point for people who want to try a new piece of equipment, that the rental fee for it is 100% coverable.
Yeah, that's a good point. Thank you. Yeah, we do. We definitely recommend whenever you can rent a piece of equipment, that's the best way to go, and just get it 100% paid for. Any other questions? So let me I do have a slide here for tips for submitting a strong proposal. Consider the match between SARE and you and your project. So you want to make sure that I'm missing the slide on our outcome statement, but the project should relate to our outcome statement. And Vander, if you could put that in the chat, that would be really helpful. Read the call for proposals. The outcome statement is in there for sure. And as I said earlier, it's got all the details about the program and how to apply, and the proposal itself, what we're looking for and all the questions, and how to submit online. Start preparing early, so that you can get your farmer partner lined up, so that you can get your Office of Sponsored Programs or your grants person on board to be ready to submit it. You can prepare your application offline. In the call for proposals, you'll find a link to a Word document with the proposal questions. So you can just go ahead and start building your answers in the Word document, cut and paste them into the online system when you're ready to do that. You want to pay attention to word counts, and it just gives you an opportunity to really like craft your responses in maybe a more comfortable format than in the online system. Write with the reviewers in mind. That's what we've been talking about. What are reviewers looking for? Our reviewers are a mix of farmers, researchers, educators, ag service providers, all kinds of different agricultural professionals, and but they may not have specific expertise in your topic. They have a broad agricultural expertise, but if they don't have a specific knowledge of your topic, sometimes it's hard if you're not clear and straightforward in your writing, as far as don't use acronyms, don't assume that they would know what a particular method is maybe, or that they even know much about the industry. If it's aquaculture and it's clams, you might want to describe what the clam industry is in your area, how big or little it is, and get so that reviewers can understand the impact that your project could have. So that sort of thing. Avoid jargon and keep it clear and straightforward. We talked about the budget, and then for attachments, your farmer partners or partners, you can have one partner, you can have many farmer partners, but your farmer partners need to write a letter of commitment explaining who they are, what their farm is, and what their role in the project will be. And this is really important because this is another thing that reviewers like to see, that everybody involved is clear on what their role is in the project. Actually, it's a really good overall view of what is happening in the project when we can see what everybody's role is. There is a timeline you're going to be required to enter as part of the proposal. And that's a really good opportunity to lay it out, who's doing what and how many hours it's going to take them. And that way you can clarify people's roles. And you can also make sure that have a realistic idea of the time that's going to be involved for everybody. So maybe for your farmer partners, you can then add up all the hours that you just wrote down for them. And then that can be how much you put in the budget to pay them for. You'll need the grant commitment form, which is the authorization from your organization to apply, and stating that they will, be fiscally responsible. And if you have any other collaborators, you can add those attachments, or you can have them write letters of commitment. We don't need just general letters of support or letters of reference. We don't want those. But collaborators, anybody who's going to be doing work on the proposal, on the project itself, it would be good to have a letter of commitment from them. And then of course your budget will be an attachment. That's going to be the budget spreadsheet, justification spreadsheet. And you can also put in some attachments under the method section for like if maybe plot layouts, maybe the design of a piece of machinery you're trying to work with, or anything that would, like previous data or something that would support your methods or support your proposal, you can put in this one section where we allow for attachments. And anything that can help reviewers understand your project better would be good in that section. So I think that's all I have for my slides here. And I'd love to get some more questions. If anybody has a topic that they're wondering if we'll cover, or Any other questions about budgets? Usually seem to be a big question for people.
Hi, I left a message, or DM'd somebody Northeast, one of the two Northeast SARE folks, and maybe you guys missed it. I guess if you're not sure whether you yourself qualify as a service provider, is it reasonable to, seek out a partner who's unambiguously so and apply in concert?
If are you saying like if you're a farmer or something, or you aren't specifically an ag service provider for a business?
I have a lot of hats. I'm a freelance science writer. I write about all kinds of things. I have a lot of clients. I'm also an agroforestry grad student, and I'm on the board of an agroforestry nonprofit that isn't necessarily going to get involved with this. And I've got my partner in this project is another agroforestry student who works with a state agency in Vermont.
Mm-hmm.
We have an awesome farmer with a great project, and it's just not clear to me which of us would actually count as the service provider, and if maybe we need to bring in some more folks.
Yes. Now, as an agroforestry student, are you enrolled in an institution in the Northeast that as a graduate student or an undergraduate?
My partner is in the Northeast as a grad student. I'm with a Midwestern university getting a remote degree as a grad student.
Mm-hmm. So there's a couple of ways you could go about it. I would say that if the state organization that your friend works for would be willing to support the project, the other person could apply, and the state organization would then be the grantee. The funds would go through them. I don't know if that's appropriate, but then you could be listed as a collaborator on the project. Really, you can be listed as a co-PI, but we do need to have one person be the applicant, and then you can list a co-PI with that, but that one person has to be the one whose organization is going to be handling the financial stuff.
Right on.
But yeah, I also do encourage you to look at the graduate student grant program for your friend. I don't know if it's something you could do through his graduate, or they could do through their graduate work or not.
And I assume there probably isn't one for like the Midwest that's like similar.
Oh yeah, so we do have the North Central SARE is another region. And they would have an on-farm partnership program also. I forget exactly what it's called. It's not called a partnership grant. It might be an on-farm grant or something like that. So I encourage you to go to their website. It's ncsare.org. Just look up North Central SARE, and you can see what kind of grants they have available. I'm also
Thank you.
yeah, and I also would love to get back to you on whether you could apply as being, if you live in the Northeast and you would be working with a farm in the Northeast, but you're working as a with an institution remotely online. The thing is, I don't know if that institution would be willing to be fiscally responsible for the project. I don't know if they are, then we could look into that and see if you could, because you're in the Northeast, if you're working with a farmer in the Northeast, you might still be able to apply for a grad student grant with us. I'm just not thinking right now at the moment clearly on that.
Okay, good to know. Is there a way to contact you directly once I talk to my partners about this?
Yes, there is. You can find my name on the call for proposals. I'm on the website. It's right here, candice.huber@uvm.edu. You can also email our main Northeast SARE email address if you'd like and they'll get it to me, the question to me. But yeah, contact me at this number or email address, and we can follow up on that.
Thank you.
We've got a hand from Owen, and then Lisa's got a question in the chat.
Owen?
Hi there, thank you. Quick question on the budget. I see looking through the RFP that any sort of matching costs can be accounted for outside of the budget, essentially under institutional experience, skills, and capacity. So do inclusion of matching funds weight the sort of the score of the budget in any way, or is it really not? Is that a non-factor?
Not for partnership grants. The only thing is that reviewers do want to know, like I said earlier, if there's something needed for the project that you don't have in the budget, that they would want to see how that's going to be covered, just to make sure that you're going to have everything you need for the project. But as far as matching funds go, we don't require those, and we don't encourage those for this project because you'd have to track them, and we just don't need them.
Right. So follow up and related to that, we do have a federally negotiated indirect rate, but it's considerably higher than the cap here. And typically in that situation, we would use the sort of the balance as a acknowledgement of sort of a matched contribution, however you want to call it. Is that allowable here? I guess it really doesn't matter, but we could note it, right? I mean, it doesn't sound like it has any weight one way or the other.
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Yep. And then let's see, what do we have in the chat? Can I list a postdoc researcher as co-PI or collaborator, since this person will be heavily involved in the project? Yes, and yes. So if I would say you definitely can list any other person as a collaborator, or what they say in the system, it's called a cooperator. And you can identify their role in the project and explain that they're, a co-leader to the project. Wait, oh, I just jumped around. So yes, you can list that person. And then the other question was, okay, does the individual need to submit a letter of commitment? There we go. Yes, that person definitely should submit a letter of commitment showing that they're committed to the project and that what they understand their role in the project to be and what their experience is, knowledge. Let's see, are there any sample budgets that can be shared? A budget from a project was approved versus a project that was not approved. That's a good question. In the call for proposals, there is actually a sample of a budget that would be approved. A project that was not approved, I don't know. That's something that I don't think we would provide, because it may not be the budget's, the reason for the not approval might not be because of the budget. And also we tend to be, budgets are confidential because especially not approved projects are completely confidential. So we can't share those.
Hey, Candace. That was me, Desmond. I appreciate you getting back to me on that one. Just one other thing. I was the one that asked about the for-profit consultant. So we're partnering with an institution for this grant. So looking closer at the RFP, would I need, or will we need an additional farmer to be included too? Or are we okay as the farming for-profit consultants in the institution or college institution?
Right, so you're saying you're the technical advisor, but the farm is also part of your organization?
Correct.
Is that, okay, okay. If you're, yes. We like for the farm, for you to have a farm outside of your organization to partner with. That would be actually, I mean, it's not completely not eligible, but reviewers look much more favorably on a farm that's outside of your organization to bring in other perspectives. So we encourage you to, maybe if you could find another, like a second farm to work with that maybe is outside of your organization, just to bring something more to the project. But technically that you would be eligible as long as your farm meets the definition of a farm, which is a farm that produces and sells over $1,000 worth of agricultural products produced on the farm, actually, and that they would sell in a typical year, or that they would otherwise distribute.
Okay, thanks.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, yeah, I got a couple people that in mind, but yeah, I'll figure it out. Thank you.
Great, thanks. Then we have somebody who asked, I'm curious what program you have found most exciting and or impactful over the course of your facilitating these grants. Oh, that's a really hard question, and I think you're asking about a project as opposed to the farmer grant program versus the partnership grant program. And we have just had so many great programs. Vander just did an article on an aquaculture project that developed a method for laying cages on the bottom of the ocean, and they had 100% success, and I mean, stuff like that. It's just very exciting. Boy, there's just so many of them, you know, and I do encourage people to go to our database on our website. It's sare.projects.org. Maybe Vander, you could put that in the chat. And you can go there and you can just noodle around and look at projects and read about, you know, different projects that we funded, and maybe you can type in a keyword of something that you're interested in, or maybe what your project is about, to see what other kinds of things we funded in that area. You can read the summary, and then you can get into more detail about the project in the report as well.
So we've got a question about this problem and proposed solution question, which I'm gonna amend here after this meeting. And then we had another question that's a follow-up on this one. That's so if you're a nonprofit that's working with farms, are you eligible are you eligible to use one of those farms, or does that count as an in-organization farm?
Like, I'm sorry, Vander, if you're a
nonprofit that's supporting farms and you've got like their farmers are on the land site of the nonprofit, is that still technically part of the nonprofit? They would want to be looking at farmers outside of that organization?
You know, it depends on how it's set up. If it's just like a collaborative and these farmers are actually individual farmers who do their own thing, they make their own, you know, they have their own sales, their own, or not even that, but they like have their own income and expenses, then they would be considered individual farmers. Otherwise, it goes back to that last question from Desmond, where if the farm is actually part of the nonprofit organization, for instance, like a Rutgers has a student farm, that would be part of their organization. Then it would be helpful to go outside of the organization to get another farm. But if you're a nonprofit organization and you have some land and all these farmers come and work on this land and you want to partner with one of them, that's definitely, I would consider that eligible and outside of the organization.
And then we had a question for the problem and proposed solution is different between the RFP and the worksheet. It's versus 1,000 words versus 500, which is the correct one.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's 1,000. I'm just double checking right now. It is. Methods. Materials and methods. We actually have it listed as a 2,000 word limit right now. So I'm going to go through and I'm going to check all of those word limits. Whatever's in the call for proposals is correct. And yeah, I'm seeing, so we're going to double check that with the online system and with the Word document that goes with them. Oh, I'm sorry, proposed problem and solution. I was looking at the materials and methods. Proposed problem and solution is 1,000 word limit for sure. Well, I'm sorry again for my delay that's getting started here, my technical difficulties. Really don't know what was going on there, but I'm happy to stay on for a little while longer if people want to stick around and ask some more questions. Otherwise, I really appreciate everybody's attendance today and all the great questions. And based on this large group of people, I'm looking forward to a great pool of applications. And we will be having 3 more of these question and answers sessions. They alternate between Wednesdays and Tuesdays. So next week it'll be on Wednesday, and then it'll be the following Tuesday, and then the following Wednesday. So if you have more questions or just want to listen to what other questions people have, feel free to come back and join us again. Thank you, everyone.